Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Gramolia. I am the president and CEO here at Woodland Pond at New Paltz. And today is Tuesday, April 6th, 2021. And this is my noontime broadcast. I would like to start today by mentioning a brief word of thanks to all of you that said that last week when I wore my baseball cap and was home, that I looked extra young. So maybe I should be wearing a baseball cap and doing my broadcast from home every week because apparently it's the fountain of youth. So thank you for that. Baseball caps are definitely more comfortable. So we have a couple of things I'd like to cover today, and they're kind of on a variety of topics. Sort of many are related to resuming, getting back into, life on campus. But I think where I'll start today is to just reiterate a few things, mainly because they're timely. First and foremost, the weather is going to be absolutely beautiful this week. So I really hope that everybody tries to get outside. At this point, the entire campus is open. Residents, unless you've come from the hospital or an emergency room visit, or are on some other reason for you're on a quarantine, which we've notified you about, every resident is off of drop-in precautions, off of quarantine, in terms of, being able to come and go or go outside, enjoy the day. This is the kind of weather that will remind you of all of the great things that the Hudson Valley has to offer. And I really hope that you get outside today and don't just look out into the outside out your window. It really does make you feel better. I can promise you that. So please try to get outside. Very, very important. The next thing I just wanted to mention, and this goes along with the fact that yesterday you all heard around 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, fire alarm bells going off. So on that point, I always like to take the opportunity to remind everyone of the expectations of the New Paltz Fire Department, the fire chief, and of our staff. When you hear a fire alarm go off, please stay where you are, unless you are in imminent danger. So unless you see flames, you have water gushing in from the ceiling, you see smoke, or you feel that you are in imminent danger in the location that you're in, we do ask you to stay where you are. So this is not the, sort of elementary school reaction that if you hear a fire alarm, you automatically go outside. That thinking has changed over the years in terms of emergency response, but here at the community, the very specific requests that we've had from the New Paltz Fire Chief, who came in to speak to us about a year and a half ago on the topic, was that for fire and rescue purposes and for evacuation reasons and emergency response, the best thing for you to do if you are hearing the fire alarm is to stay in your residence, shelter in place, make sure the door is closed, unless you're obviously in imminent danger, in which case then you would evacuate to the nearest exterior location. But there are many reasons for that. And first and foremost, the entire building is sprinklered. So it's a fire safe building. Obviously we can't prevent every single disaster from happening, but buildings are built now with sprinklers, and Woodland Pond is fully sprinklered. We do have quarterly and annual sprinkler tests, and we have a fire panel system that notifies us if there's any issues or concerns about the panel. The smoke detection system, the fire detection system, the fire suppression system not being in working order. We take it very seriously. So that's first and foremost. The second reason is that in the event of a fire alarm dispatch or alert, the first thing that's going to happen after we look at the panel to figure out where the issue is that the fire department and the emergency responders are going to be on their way. And when they get here on campus, they need to be able to get to you. And so they need hallways to be cleared. They need the lobby to be cleared. They need stairwells especially to be cleared. So unless you are in imminent danger, you should stay put where you are. If you're in a public area here at the community, our staff immediately goes to those areas and notifies you of what you should do. So we all did that yesterday. I took a wing, everybody took different wings. I was very pleased to see actually in the wing that I was in, which was in Central Wing in independent living, I didn't see a single resident. That means that you're all taking this seriously and you're staying put. And I can't thank you enough for that, because that's exactly what the fire chief has asked of us. Obviously, if you are in imminent danger, that situation should be different. You should leave wherever you are. If you see smoke, see flames, feel smoke or fire, or anything like that. But for the most part, if you hear that fire alarm, you should stay put and shelter in place. You will get alerted, and yesterday those alerts came out quickly. This was a health center issue yesterday. One of our industrial dishwashers, actually the steam that got released from it, indicated on one of our fire suppression heads. It did not deploy, but it was enough steam in that particular location that the system activated, the alarm system activated. All of you at this point should have either received a phone call to your landline. You should have received a phone call to your cell phone. You should have potentially received a text. You may have received an email, and you should have seen the alert on channel 1340 or Connected Living. So if you did not get our alerts, first, the immediate alert that this was a health center issue, which happened within 5 or 10 minutes of the alarm going off, and then the all clear, which was issued about 45 minutes later, maybe a little bit sooner than that. Actually, it was probably about a half an hour around the same time that the alarm was shut off. Please let me know, or please let the concierge or reception know, because we want to make sure that you're getting those alerts and that your phone numbers are loaded in and those kinds of things. So one of the most important things I would just ask of you is to not call concierge in the middle of an emergency, because we need to keep that desk of communication clear. They are our first line of communication with the emergency responders. So please resist the urge to pick up the phone and ask concierge what's going on. Please just shelter in place unless you are in imminent danger, and make sure that you look at your cell phone, answer your phone if it rings, and look at channel 1340 to get information about what the nature of the emergency is. So now getting into kind of some of the reopening type activities. I did indicate to you at this point that because we've achieved such a high vaccination level among residents, and because of conversations that have been ongoing with the state and other progress that's been being made in the fight against COVID, every day we're kind of opening up things a little bit more, and every day we're trying to expand what we're offering here on campus. So last week I had indicated that for the health center specifically, the state was no longer requiring us to put people that leave campus or have a compassionate visit onto 14-day droplet precautions or into quarantine. That's another way to look at it. So this means that if you are going out for routine doctor's appointment, or if for some reason you leave campus for another reason, as long as it's not for a hospitalization, an emergency room visit, as long as you've not gone to skilled nursing, let's say you live in assisted living, as long as you've not had to stay in skilled nursing, then you do not need to be on droplet precautions when you return to campus. So that's a significant step forward for those of you that had put off routine medical appointments because you wanted to avoid that 14-day quarantine. So that's fantastic. We have expanded visiting capacity on campus in the health center. So I'm hoping that all of you are getting all the visits that you are intending to. You should be calling reception. I have been a little bit surprised to see I'm still getting questions from residents about if this person can come visit or if that person can come visit. The answer is yes. So please call reception to get information, or ask a nurse, ask a social work or case manager. Ask anybody that you see about how you can schedule a visit. If you're waiting for that, we have indoor visit options available. We have outdoor visit options available. We're hoping that you get those visits in. For independent living, you've heard me say over the last couple of weeks that we've got visits have resumed here in independent living as well. Indoor visits do require a rapid test for the visitor prior to their proceeding on to your indoor home at Woodland Pond. So if you'd like to have a visitor come indoors here in independent living, you should coordinate that through concierge. They can let you know the process for that and the availability for those indoor appointments because we do have to schedule that rapid test. Outdoor visits require no appointment in independent living. So if you wanted to have somebody come visit you outdoors here on campus, as long as they don't enter any part of any building, they can come as often as they'd like, and you can visit with them. So again, those do not need an appointment. So if you wanted to pick up the phone and ask your cousin to come visit and go for a walk with you outside or go sit out on your patio, that's great. As long as they don't come inside, they do not need an appointment and they do not need a rapid test. We do have, and I put in everybody's independent living mailbox yesterday, an excerpted memo from a memo that I issued in March on the 17th of March, which explains a lot of things, but the main focus is what I just explained about visits in independent living, excuse me. And then the other thing that's very important here, and there's been some confusion about this, which is why I reissued the memo yesterday, is what happens when you come back to campus. So essentially, you know, many of you at this point, both in independent living and in the health center, are wanting to go to doctor's appointments. Many of you have asked about going to a hair salon or going to a church meeting or going to a church service or a meeting of an organization that you have participated in prior to the pandemic. And essentially all of those things, as long as those meetings are happening, and as long as you can get there safely without riding in a vehicle with another passenger that's not from your household, as long as the activity is fully masked, safe distancing can be applied, and so forth, then there is no requirement to quarantine when you come back to campus, as long as you're vaccinated. And again, all of this is on the memo that I reissued yesterday. And I'm really hoping that you can all really go through that. Because we did have some questions about people that had left campus for Passover and Easter, being surprised that because they shared a meal on those visits or because they visited with somebody off campus that was not an approved caregiver, that they were going to have to not eat in the dining room for a few days. So those protocols haven't changed. So I'm hoping that all of you can read through that and take a look at that. It primarily focuses on unmasked activity, as well as visits to the hospital emergency room. So when you're thinking about, gosh, if I do this off campus, am I going to have to not go in the dining room for 5 days? Or am I going to have to miss congregate activities for 5 days? If you're going to be wearing a mask the entire time, chances are it's not on the memo of things that would result in any kind of a pause for you. So as I said, going to a meeting or going to meeting with somebody at the Mohawk Preserve to go for a hike or something like that, chances are you're able to just proceed about your normal day when you return to campus. But I really just hope that you all have this memo and it looks like this, that you take it out and you make it handy so that if you have questions, you can have those questions answered. I'm also working very closely with Jason's staff to make sure that, you know, there are any questions that come up that the concierge feels comfortable answering those things. There's a lot of moving parts here. So I do appreciate everyone's acting in a cautious manner, but really just take a look at that memo. And if you have questions about anything that's on there, please let me know. I just want to talk for a few minutes about dining in independent living. And I just attended a 1 hour and 15-minute dining committee meeting. And I appreciate, you know, the dining committee inviting me and letting me be part of that meeting. It's been a year since I've been at that meeting in person, and I thought it was a great meeting. One of the things that really surprised me was that the dining committee members were surprised that we have a lot of vacant tables in the dining room right now. So I just want to stop before I go any further and let all of you know that we have got lots of reservations available in the dining room. The 4:30 seating has a lot of available spots just about every day, and the 5:30 seating also has a good amount of available slots. So please do call and make those reservations. Please do not assume that there's a long waiting list because currently there's not. And as I mentioned on my last two addresses, we're going to use the interest in the existing seatings to determine if we need to add a third seating. So it's really important that if you're at all interested in dining in the dining room, that you call and make those reservations to sit and have a seated meal, a seated dinner in the dining room. One of the things that was pointed out, and I appreciate this by the dining committee today, was that when the dining room was open before the pandemic, we opened the dining room at 4:30 or 4:45. So the 4:30 seating is not dramatically different than that. And really, by the time you order and your meal is served, it's certainly after 5 o'clock. So please don't let the 4:30 seating daunt you. It's just we're contending with the spacing regulations and so forth that are required of New York State. So please think about that when you're thinking about your scheduling. And the other thing that some asked were that I haven't been making reservations because I feel like I can't spontaneously decide that I would like to go to the dining room if I have a meal being delivered the same day. So what we had responded to that was that, well, that meal that you're having delivered today can stay in your fridge till tomorrow. So, if you ordered a roast beef for today, it just got delivered, it's 3 o'clock, but you decided, I want to see if I can get a seat in the dining room tonight. Just call the number for reservations, see if they can add you, and that roast beef will stay in the fridge till tomorrow. You can definitely still be spontaneous, and just because you had a meal delivered doesn't mean you can't decide to also sit down in the dining room. There's no limit on how much you can consume from us or from, purchase from us. So please make those reservations. A few of you have raised concerns about, being a little bit wary of making reservations with your neighbors that are not vaccinated. And I understand that there is some sensitivity. You don't want to necessarily ask a neighbor if they've been vaccinated, or if, you just don't want to create that awkwardness. But you're concerned about yourself, and you want to make sure that you're seating with people that you're comfortable with. What I can tell you is that there's a very, very, very small handful of independent living residents that are not fully vaccinated. So as of right now, we have 2 or maybe 3 in independent living that are not vaccinated at all because they're not medically eligible to be vaccinated, and they're homebound, so they're not eating in the dining room. We have 4 or 5 right now that initially didn't get vaccinated, but are in the process of they've had their first vaccine and they're waiting for their second. So we've got 4 or 5 sort of in limbo, but they'll be fully vaccinated in a few weeks. And then we've got 1 or 2 at the absolute max that haven't been vaccinated at all. And right now don't plan to be. So out of 250 plus independent living residents, if that's a total of maybe 6 to 8 people, it's a very, very small fraction. So I'm hoping that that's not keeping you out of the dining room, but I do understand it. I think it's important to remember that right now, if you were to go out to eat in the public, there's no requirement that anyone that dines in public be vaccinated. We have a huge amount of vaccination here on campus. And, actually in just speaking with Ronnie too, at the dining committee, we're down to only just a couple of wait staff members that aren't vaccinated. And again, they might not be medically eligible, or they may have a religious objection to it. They may not be comfortable with the virus, but of course our staff are being tested every week. They're wearing full PPE. So I'm hoping that's not keeping you from the dining room, but if it is, you certainly can stop and see me, talk to Sarah about concerns, talk to Mary Jo, certainly, and we'll try to help you through any concerns that you have there, because we're really hoping that we're not seeing all the vacant tables in the dining room because people are too concerned. We want to really help you get comfortable with resuming activity. We are still actively recruiting for a fitness instructor and coordinator. We are having a heck of a time finding someone. The market right now for jobs is starting to open back up really quickly because life outside in the real world is starting to adjust to the pandemic, and people are back in the gym, people are going to starting to very carefully resume fitness classes and so forth. So whereas at one point we had some great opportunity to potentially find some instructors that were out of work because of the pandemic, right now that's kind of waned. So we are really anxious to try to find a candidate. If you have anybody that might be interested, we are right now looking for great amount of flexibility in terms of the schedule. There isn't a fixed commitment. I mean, as much as we would love to have somebody be here full time, right now our priority is just to get some of those classes being taught in person again. So if you have somebody that is a great trainer, or an instructor, or might be interested in just picking up a couple of classes for us a week, that would be great to help bridge the next step. So please put them in touch with us, because we really want to get something going in that regard. And we're of course open to anybody that has suggestions or some ideas there. So that would be very helpful. I think the last thing I just wanted to mention was that I'm really looking at ways to engage residents in a different way as we continue to come out of this pandemic. And some of the things that are on my mind are the fact that we've got a vast amount of knowledge, expertise, know-how, passion, and interest among residents themselves. And I feel that there's an opportunity for us, for each of you, to share that with your neighbors. I'm thinking something kind of like a year of purpose, and how do we incorporate purpose into all of your lives in a more concrete and measurable way. And I like your ideas on that. I have some modeling that I've had in mind, like related to sort of an quasi Woodland Pond University. So similar to what you think about with LLI classes. So, you may be a subject matter expert on the Great Wall of China, and you may have experience traveling the Great Wall, and you may have slides, and you may want to share that in a 5-week seminar session in the classroom with neighbors that might like to sign up for that. I think the sky is the limit. I think there are real skills that you could all impart on each other in small group seminar sessions or small group settings. I have ideas in mind, and I really want to get this kind of up and moving. And I think we've all made a commitment to ourselves over the last year to not let moments go by and take them for granted. We've all missed out on things in the last year. We've all felt sad. We've all in some ways lost a part of ourselves, but all of us in doing so said to ourselves, wow, I'm never going to take that for granted again. Or, wow, I'm not going to, let my new neighbor just stay behind closed doors and be lonely. And I'm not going to miss out on something that Woodland Pond offers. Or, gosh, Woodland Pond doesn't currently offer this, but I would like them too. So, the sky is the limit. We've got a wood shop, we've got a pool, we've got an art studio and a kiln room, and you have talent, and you have passion, and you have experience and expertise. And, I just think if we could figure out a way to match you up with the others here at the community that are interested in a topic or an opportunity, that we're doing ourselves a disservice if we don't capture that. So this is what's on my mind as we're kind of coming out of some of the doldrums of the pandemic. If this speaks to you in any way, or you feel like you might want to, help with this effort, or you might have something that you'd like to share, or something that you'd like to learn about, or, you've decided, gosh, I wish someone could teach me how to knit. I bet we could find somebody to help you knit. So let's work on those partnerships. Let's work on that, enhancement of purpose, and figure out how to make good on our promises to ourselves that we weren't going to let things go for granted anymore, and figure out how to make the most out of the days that we do have, and the neighbors that we have, and the opportunities that we have at Woodland Pond. I'm excited about it. I hope I can excite you too, and I will see you all next Tuesday.